Morning, everyone. It is March 17th. It is St. Patrick's Day, and this is the greenest thing that I could find to wear. We are having a Baltimore County delegation today. We will have two briefings, one by the president of CCBC, Community College Baltimore County, and following that, a briefing by the Baltimore County Director of Corrections, Walt Pesterfield. And Dr. Curtinitis is here with us now, and we are going to give her the stage. And Dr. Curtinitis, you can interact with Justin to get parts of your presentation up on screen if you'd like.
Oh, thank you. Justin, can you do that? Will you click them for me, or?
If you just tell him to advance, I think he'll do that for you.
I'll do that. Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for giving me a few minutes to spend some time with you. I know a number of you came to our legislative luncheon and you've heard part of my story, but today I want to focus on one particular request that we have, but I do want to give a little backdrop first. And before I do any of that, I start no conversation with our delegation without saying thank you for what you were able to do for us last year, passing and funding both the CAPE formula and the blueprint. And so this is sort of our mantra, coming out of the pandemic with strength and with vision. And I want to just tell you how phenomenal that your support was last year and how phenomenal it seems as it will be this year. But to deserve that, I want to just say we want you to be proud of your community college, proud that CCBC was the only college that remained open during the pandemic. We're the only college that gave the lion's share of our stimulus to our students so that 84% of those students at CCBC could attend with either a full or partial scholarship. We are once again the largest community college in the state, and we actually sit as one of the top 150 in the whole nation. So with your help, we've become a powerhouse in our county and our region, and we are very pleased to put what we do by way of our mission into your hands to help you just as you help us. Justin, next slide, please. So the way we are going to do this is with this trilogy. We're reframing the conversation. We're not trying to be who we were in 2020. We're investing in the future, and with the significant support we've had from you, this is the first time ever that we feel we can really do that. But as importantly, this matters to you, it matters to us. We are leading with equity. So a couple of little, Justin, if you go to the next slide, a couple of little good things. I want you to know that we completed our Middle States review last summer, once again with A++, known as a well-run, well-organized, mission-centric institution, absolutely committed to student success. Next slide, Justin. We received, and I'll bet some of you helped us with this, we received a congressional earmark this year that will help us expand our CDL training program. Everybody needs truck drivers, and our site at Trade Point is booming. In fact, it's registered all the way up through August. Next slide. Some of you have already heard us brag about this, but it is CCBC that actually received the national award for the American, the Council of Community College Trustees. There are 1,000 community colleges in the country, 300 or 400 apply for this award. It was CCBC that received it. And that's our trustees up there, me and the trustees. We are smiling away. Next slide, Justin. And in that same category, we will be going to Denver to the American Association of Community College Conference with 2 Excellence Award finalists. One is for our community college safety, and the other for our male student success initiative. We're very proud of these. We want you to be as well. But Justin, if you go to the next slide, this is basically what we created as our legislative agenda at the beginning of the session. And you can vortex that I know on January in the legislative luncheon, I pretty much said, these are the 4 most important things. And I feel really good about where you all are in helping us achieve full funding for CAID, full funding for capital budget. Be nice to get the tuition waivers covered, but if that doesn't happen, we're still really solidly happy and grateful for what we're going to get out of this session. But the one item I want to focus on is our recommendations, community college, the MAC recommendations to enhance and to fund the Maryland College Promise in ways that will enable us to serve many more students. So I'm going to lead to that this way. Jason, next slide. You know who we serve because you know who you serve. So 85% of our students live in vulnerable and underserved communities. That means low income and minority. And that's why we've made this big, huge commitment to leading with equity. Next slide, Justin. And I show you these numbers every year because they reflect exactly who is sitting in the classrooms at CCBC and what our commitment is to be serving those students who are here today, not the ones who were here 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And the ones I always need to point out, average age of 36, more women than men, 89% attending part-time, and probably more than half of them now working 20 plus hours a week. Those are the really significant numbers that drive the request that I'm going to make today about changing the promise. Next slide, Justin. And so in order to do what we need to do to really lead with equity, we've created this broad definition of diversity. Every one of us counts: men, women, young, old, able-bodied, not able-bodied, gender. It really doesn't matter to us. We've built this very strong trajectory for how we are approaching our DEI agenda. And Justin, if you would click to the next slide, I'll show you what we're putting into this very concrete, really a total look at policies, at procedures. Note, no tuition increase since 2018. How could you possibly not care about equity if you make commitments like that? We've reduced textbooks costs by 50%, and we're working on a way to make them what we think will be totally free if we can reach that. There are lots of strategies we have. The tuition-free initiative I mentioned, we've used all that stimulus money to support students, pay off their debt, help them with domestic need and tuition. So we're making a huge effort to move towards a real agenda that leads with equity. So Justin, if you would go to the next slide, this really reflects the main interest that I bring to you today. And I know I've talked to many of you about really changing the requirements for the promise. The promise is a wonderful thing, but every year the community colleges take the $15 million that is set aside for the promise. We spend maybe $5 million of that, and $10 million goes back into the state, because when we built the promise requirements, we built them with hopes that more students would attend full time. But those data that I showed you just a few minutes ago, average age 36, these are not young students who can come out of high school and enter college and take 12 or 15 credits. These are people who need a different kind of promise program. And so what we are proposing are the changes that will enable us to give not just 259 Maryland Promise scholarships, because that's all, this huge college with 48,000 students last year, that's all we were able to award. What we hope, instead of 259, we'd like to be giving 2,559 or even more than that. So what we're asking your support for is to liberalize the regulations in a way that will make full or part-time students eligible to receive Promise scholarships. We're hoping that they would apply to both credit and non-credit programs. The short-term workforce programs at CCBC, we have 136 of them. They are marvelous. They are training people and putting them into healthcare, into construction, into business, cyber, everywhere. But those students are not Pell eligible. Only 4 of our programs are. So requiring a FAFSA for short-term credentials is a challenge. We'd like to suggest that some alternate income validation would be useful, maybe a W-2 or something like that. And as importantly, please consider supporting the proposal to give the community colleges the ability to administer the promise directly. We've been having to go through MHEC, and the MHEC process is very tedious. It begins on March 1. If you haven't signed up by March 1, don't even think about it because you won't be eligible. The Maryland promise should be open to community college students all through the summer as people are beginning to think about their lives and what they would like to do to come back to CCBC. So these we want to keep the academic integrity here. We love the household income level, but we've seen our hope of getting more students to attend full-time simply not work. So I'd like to be giving thousands of these scholarships, and all my colleagues at the 15 other community colleges would love to be able to do. The promise is a beautiful gift to community college students, and we hope that they will be able, more of them will be able to receive it. And so, Justin, if you just go to the last slide. I'm putting this out there to say, look, we're your community college. We want to be everything you need us to be for your communities. And we're very proud that every year, last year was a little bit lower. Usually we have about 13,000 students who will graduate with a degree or a short-term credential that takes them directly into the workplace. So we're happy to always share with you that 93% of our graduates will remain right here to live and work in the Baltimore region, and they don't go back to Alaska or California or New York. So I'm going to stop there, Mr. Chair, and I will be very happy to take questions and make further comments, whatever you want me to do.
Yes, well, thank you. And thank you for your presentation. I think we all love you and we all love CCBC. And I think the most important slide that I saw there was the one where it showed, that we have a county that is oddly shaped geographically. It has, a rather horseshoe shape around the city. And so it could be seen as very separate, but and so if the community college were in one place or another in the county, we might feel a little parochial about it being but it is everywhere in the county. The map showed all of the locations, not only the 3 major campuses, but the satellite campuses. Yes. And so I think you have not only become part of all of Baltimore County, but you serve the county very well too. And so I think that's only a little part of the reason that we're so proud of CCBC.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. We want you to be proud.
Right. And so, and you do good work. If anybody would like to ask questions, we can. I know that Dr. Kurtnitis is a little under the gun because she's supposed to be in some meetings and stuff with Maryland Association of Community Colleges. But if someone would like
this is my first priority.
Thank you. Yes, we understand that. Thank you so much.
The presidents can shift for themselves.
I think, and I'm not seeing any hands come up, and I have a feeling the reason is that you've been so thorough with us. A wonderful luncheon where you spent a very good time, presenting and letting us talk to you. But if anyone does have any questions, we'll take them at this time. If not, we'll let the good president go and continue to do the good work that she outlined with us this morning and in the past. All right, then. Dr. Kurtnitis, thank you so much for coming by. I'm sure we will interact with you again. I hope you had a productive meeting this morning.
Well, we will do that. And if I can just leave you with one thought, because as I shared the promise, it occurred to me that the changes to the promise, which are in both the Senate Bill 662 and the House Bill 923, also include other things dealing with the EA and the GA and so forth. What our request would be, since I think our 4-year colleagues are seeking a study group of how to deal with all of these funds that are handled by MHEC, What I would ask is that we consider lifting out the promise piece so that that doesn't have to go understudy. I mean, we're all 16 of us are very clear about what our proposal is and how important it would be towards increasing the number of students who could access it. We'd love it not to get tied into a study group that wants to look at EA, GA, and so on and so forth. I think that's the one caveat to my request.
Thank you. And we're all writing down the number right now if we don't have it right here in the front of our heads.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you all. We're just so tickled with what you've shown in last year and this year. And if community colleges have ever been feeling empowered in this state, I can assure you we are now. And we're going to do everything we can to make you look good as well.
Oh, wait.
What?
Delegate Carden has slid his hand in here at the last minute. So we have time, so let's go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you. Just a real quick question. Thank you very much, Dr. Carden. It's always a pleasure to see you. One of my favorite people down.
Thank you.
What you do. So I just quickly pulled up, I think it was 923, House Bill 923. I just want to make sure I understand. I have no idea where, I didn't have time to even look where it is right now, what the status is of it. But if in fact a study group is created, you do not want the study group to include the promise. You want the promise to actually go forward as in actual its functioning and it's being appropriated correctly. Maybe Delegate Forbes might know more about this than I do, or somebody from Ways and Means might know something more about this than I do. But I just want to make sure that I understand what you're trying to accomplish.
So we'll let the president answer first, and then
yes,
we didn't tell Delegate Forbes that she might need to present here, so we'll see if she wants
to say something else. But you are correct that our goal would be to try to get the promise piece dealt with this year. And this is what my sense is. I know it's true in our delegation, and this is my sense across the state, that the community college portion of that bill has strong funding, bipartisan funding. And I'm just always grateful to see that in relation to the community college in our county. But it is true that the other components of that bill are probably apt to be more contentious. We think the 16 of us are solid on what's in there, and we are thinking that you all could help us there. And Delegate Forbes, I see you with that little smile on your face. So maybe you'd like to say something.
Yes, Delegate Forbes, would you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Curtinitis, for your leadership. The reason I know about the problems with the Promise Scholarship is at my first legislative lunch, I was seated at a table at CCBC with the head of financial aid, and she explained to me that they weren't able to give out these scholarships. And so we've been working on it in appropriations. The bill has a great sponsor, the chair of appropriations.
That's true.
But you're right there. It covers a lot of ground in one bill. So we will see what happens today. We are voting sessions today in appropriations, and we'll see what comes out today. But the idea that people who want to go to community college in August or September have to know in March and apply through MHEC in March is ridiculous. And what you had shared with me, and I brought up to MHEC before, is that people weren't notified that they got their scholarships until well into the semester, October, November. So how can you make a decision to go to college for free when you don't know until November that you could have gone for free in August? So yes. We understand the urgency, and I will do whatever I can to honor that promise, because it's not much of a promise if we're not fulfilling it for students.
And it's not only Delegate Forbes, she just understands it better. I think we're all with you, generally speaking. So Thank you, Delegate Forbes, for that update. I see he's infamous for this. Delegate Phillips has put up his hand here toward the end also, but infamous in a good way, because it means he has
infamous.
I'm sorry, Dr. Curtinitis, that you got to deal with the infamous.
I'm sorry, probably a good term to use.
No, we're logo buddies, right?
Let's say that.
We got history, Dr. Curtinitis. I don't want to take any time. I just wanted you to know I am going to reach out to you. I had a constituent issue that came up. That's not for this venue, but I just wanted to let you know that I will be reaching out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do
Oh,
that,
well, thank
please.
you. Okay, excellent.
All right.
So are there any other, I want to point out too that we're missing a few people this morning and it's not due to lack of interest. A couple of committees are actually meeting this morning before session. And I know the House session starts at 10. I'm not sure what the Senate schedule is. I also want to point out that we have a handful of senators here today, including Senate Chair Senator Sidnor is here with us this morning also, along with some of his merry band of senators there. So with that, we would like to thank you again for having been here
Thank
and
you.
talked to us. And
Thank you.
I think this is a real feel-good thing when you show up. So thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for saying that. And really, thanks to all of you for your help.
Cheers.
We're just feeling happy. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, we're going to move on to our second briefing this morning. It is 9:20. The House is convening at 10. So we're going to try to give this a half an hour so we can get out of here at 10 minutes to 10 for those of us who walk slowly over to the House, to the State House. Early last week, there were some reports that brought to light some things in detention in Baltimore County. I want to give the administration credit for initiating a conversation with me about the possibility of having a briefing. They want to be open and they wanted to make sure that there were chances for us to hear. We also decided that it would be appropriate to have this briefing be public so people could also listen in. And so this is, of course, being streamed. But those of you who are watching, I welcome you. We have Director of Corrections, Pastor Field, here with us today, who would like to provide a general update about corrections, but address some of the concerns and challenges specifically in regard to the court's practice of sending juveniles charged as adults to the detention center while they are sentencing, which was some of the focus of what we heard about last week. So the administration is eager to shed some light on this. And with that, I will recognize the Director of Corrections, Mr. Pastor Field. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And the floor is yours. We will entertain a few questions after you're done talking.
Very good. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Ebersol and Sidnor, Vice Chairs and esteemed members of the Maryland General Assemblies, Baltimore County House and Senate delegation. My name is Walt Pesterfield, Director of the Baltimore County Department of Corrections and the Baltimore County Detention Center in Towson. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to brief you on the detention center and to provide you today's updates. As this is the first time many of you are meeting with me, I want to first say how excited I am to have joined the Baltimore County government and tell you a little bit about myself and who I am and why I'm here. Over the past 32 years, I've worked in the criminal justice system, starting out my career as a police officer in Central California, then working in Oregon in detention, long-term juvenile facilities, as well as probation and parole officer, and the director of probation for juveniles and adults. I've been a superintendent of a maximum security facility for males aged 16 to 20 years old in Las Vegas, as well as a superintendent for long-term correctional youth in the state of Arizona. Previous to accepting this position, I was the chief adult probation officer for Franklin County, Ohio, which is the Columbus area. I chose to come to Baltimore County because of the outstanding administration and forward-thinking leaders. Baltimore County has a rich history of supporting law enforcement, first responders, and corrections. Baltimore County is a thriving community with an abundance of opportunities to live and play. Some of the goals that I, as well as the Baltimore County administration, have are first, aggressively expanding our recruiting efforts to fill vacancies within the Baltimore County Department of Correction, especially the officer ranks. We have begun our recruitment campaign this past month with a team of employees conducting job fairs throughout our county and state, as well as Southern PA. We are working closely with our military community to provide career opportunities for men and women exiting their post, as well as concentrate on recruiting all minorities. I've begun to conduct individual meetings with our employees in the department. Thus far, I've met with over 50 individuals with a goal to meet all employees during my first year. These meetings are intended to understand the needs of every level of our department and to improve communication between leadership and our valued employees. Our administration remains fully committed to providing adequate housing for all inmates ordered to our detention center. we recognize the unique challenges and requirements of youth housed in an adult facility. As you may know, BCDC houses inmates awaiting bail review, pretrial inmates, and inmates serving sentences up to 1 year and 1 day. The facility houses adult offenders and juveniles who are charged as an adult and who are ordered by the court to be held there as adults. It is important to reiterate the BCDC does not make the determination about who is an inmate is held or for how long. For your awareness, as of today, there are 12 juvenile detainees in BCDC, 11 male and 1 female. Long before receiving this recent letter, the county executive directed me in my newly confirmed role to identify areas for improvement throughout BCDC. Since starting my position earlier this year, we have started to make changes. Our continued review is focused on providing optimal conditions for all inmates served by our facility. Talk a little bit about COVID. As we continue this facility-wide review, it is important to acknowledge that for the last 3 years, BCDC has been operating under strict COVID-19 restrictions. Although restrictions have significantly decreased across the state, the detention center is its own ecosystem. It has been critical for the facility to continue to operate in order to appropriately protect the health and safety of those housed there. While we have begun to relax COVID-19 restrictions, our facility must remain mindful of the continued impact of communicable diseases and illnesses and how detainees are vulnerable to the rapid spread of those illnesses. We're continuing to closely evaluate current restrictions that were in place prior to my arrival, and will continue to reduce restrictions related to COVID-19 with diligence and care for the entire inmate population. In response to the letter received earlier this month, the county executive directed me and other senior leaders in the administration, including Baltimore County's Deputy Administrative Office for Public Safety, to reevaluate the facility's current conditions, policies, and practices, and to carefully investigate the claims that were raised. It appears that in many cases, conditions were not found to be entirely as described. However, the county has identified areas for improvement. We want to be thorough with our review and will be providing additional follow-up once our investigation is fully completed, which we anticipate will be within the next 30 days. We did not want to wait until that process is complete to personally address you and all here, in part to demonstrate that we take these allegations extremely serious and remain fully committed to providing adequate housing for all those ordered to the detention center. Please be assured that we will continue to closely monitor the status of juvenile detainees and are working to identify the appropriate addresses concerning those items. Moving forward, we will continue to keep all of you informed for the results of our work and any changes in policy and practice that we make. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you today. It's much appreciated. Is there any questions?
Yeah, Director Pesterfield, thank you so very much for being here. And I know that we're dealing with something that's a little bit controversial. I will instruct members of the delegation that you're welcome. We're going to take questions. It's possible due to the sensitive nature, we're dealing with juveniles here, that there may be some things that you may be uncomfortable addressing publicly. I'm sure you'll be available offline if there's something that comes under that category. But we're happy. We're going to take a few questions here. I see a few people lining up, and so I'm going to go to Delegate Sheila Ruth first. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. For some reason, the unmute wasn't working. And thank you, Director Pesterfield, for being here and for addressing us and for taking this issue seriously. I appreciate that you've just started, and appreciate you're really working to try to address not only this but longer term issues as well, and really make sure that. I know you mentioned that some things that you found were not as in the report, but other things that there were issues that could be improved. You didn't get into any specifics, and I assume that's because that you don't want to get ahead of the report. But I did want to ask you specifically about the report that children, some children are in cell 23 hours, which of course fits the definition of restrictive housing. And is that something that's going to be addressed in the short term?
Yeah, that's already been addressed, and quite frankly, that is not accurate. We've being from facilities, and I ran juvenile facilities, and again in several states. I try to bring that expertise to improve what we do and how we manage and how we instruct and the services that we provide for the youth. So that's an ongoing process. We've already started to look at making changes, but we still want to go ahead and finish our investigation very carefully and judiciously.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for that question, Delegate. Senator Selling, a question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. I want to thank Mr. Pesterfield for this information. My subcommittee is public safety, and we've talked a lot about corrections and some of the problems that we do have. We know we have a lot of problems with keeping our people in corrections and the constant movement and just trying to get more people to work for corrections. And I know that's one of our problems that we have in the state. I don't know if that's one of the problems that you have. We just want to know if you need any assistance with that, because we are working with other facilities to see if we can get more people to work with them and the bonuses that they're doing. I don't know if you're doing that also. And if I could ask one more question, if there's other information that you're going to be updating, could be, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, get the information here in Baltimore County and get that to us, please. And we would like to know what more we could do. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely, Senator. To address your question, yes. Like many counties, most counties throughout the United States are having difficulty filling positions. As I explained, I've worked in many different states and still have contacts in those states, and they're facing those same challenges that we have with recruiting. What we're doing is trying to be extremely aggressive and work with every avenue that we can to get those positions filled. Right now, we're about 94 positions down with our correctional officers. That's a lot, and so we really want to improve that, and we put a lot of effort in that. Will continue, especially over this coming year.
And if I could, one more thing real quick, Mr. Chair. What we want to do is find ways where we can help you out. So if you can get with us, then get with me if you could, one way or another, and we could try to work out things for our veterans and even for our schools. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Westfield.
Thank you, Senator.
And I think the overriding message there is, as much as we can, the more information we have, the more we can advocate for what's going on and try to shed some light on the realities of the situation. So thank you. Senator Hedelman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Pesterfield, for being here. Really appreciate it. And thank you to the county for being responsive. I know many of us reached out right after we heard about this, and so I do appreciate the responsiveness. You have said, and then I think the letter that you had sent also reiterated that you aren't the ones to make the decision to house the juveniles in your facility. Can you shed a little light on how that decision and who makes that decision? One, and the second question is, since it's not a best practice to house juveniles and adults together, have you been in touch with DJS, and do they have the space to be able to take these juveniles? And I understand what you said, that they're charged as adults. So I do understand that, but they are still juveniles. So I'll be quiet and let you follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good question. We do not make the decision on any individual adult or adult discharged as a juvenile come to a facility. Specifically, the district court and the circuit court make that decision when they place them in our facility. We don't have an option to say no. And so we take them, and like most facilities in our state and probably most states, adult facilities, unless they maybe were built in the last 10 years, are not equipped to have optimal space for juveniles. But we do the best we can, and we make sure that we keep the standards, and that's part of the investigation going forward that I'm responsible for reporting out to.
Just to follow up, I understand. Do you have any flexibility with regard to being in touch with DJS about that?
No, I believe that would be more of the court's role, because I know they do make placements outside of our facility, but that is dependent upon the judges and the court's choice.
Okay, if you'll indulge me, one more follow-up.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So is it fair to say it's also the state's attorney's office is involved in this, in their request to the court?
That would be a little bit out of my lane, so I don't want to speak for the court or the district attorney. That might be out of my purview.
Okay. I appreciate your responsiveness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Delegate McCaskill, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my concerns are exactly what the senator just expressed, and Delegate Sheila Ruth. And I guess we are right now waiting in limbo for 30 days so that we can be responsive to our constituency and to ourselves as a whole. I feel right now a lot of the questions, and you can correct me that perhaps it's because we're waiting for a thorough investigation. A lot of the questions have not been directly answered this morning, specifically from Shelley Hellman, Delegate Heddleman, because those are my specific questions. Are we just waiting for the investigation? And are you willing to get back with our delegation before, to give us a briefing so that once the investigation does, I don't know, hit the airways or become public or whatever, that we are also abreast of how to directly address our constituents and our own concerns?
Yes, ma'am. We want to be very open and transparent with what we do. I can tell you my second week here, I did a tour of the facility and I made some immediate recommendations in the adult area and the juvenile charged as adult area on just improving the aesthetics and whatnot. And so I started there just, I think, based upon my experience and wanting our facility to be the best that it can be. We started there. I'm not trying to be vague, but we just want to make sure that what I say is accurate before we talk about the completed investigation. So we're not being evasive, I can assure you, just wanting to make sure that each area is looked at and fully investigated before we report out. As far as reporting out to this body, I do not believe that would be a problem. But we'll have to talk to our legal counsel and whatnot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. I saw Delegate Cardin's hand up, but it's down now, so I'm assuming.
No, mine was up. I'm not sure why, but I'll let Delegate Pastor go first.
No, she's a great closer. We'll go with you. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Pesterfield, for being here and for trying to be as frank as you can. First of all, I just want to make sure I understood what you said. So you don't have any juveniles except the ones charged as adults in your facility. Is that correct?
That is correct. Today, our count is 11 male, 1 female, and all charged as adults.
And are those, is that a typical number? Is about 12, about a dozen?
I can speak to from the time I've got here, it hovers between 11, 12. Yesterday it was 14. Now it's back down to 12. So kind of in that area right there. And are they, this going off of what Senator Heddleman had asked, are they separated from the rest of the population in any way, shape, or form, or are they in with the general population? No, they are separated. Okay, but they are not separated in a way that would put them in solitary confinement. That is correct. That is correct. While I have you here, I just want to, first of all, you're in the middle of construction of your facility in Towson, right? We are making improvements to it.
Okay. And is there going to be any improvements that are going to make it create assurances that these issues or these allegations maybe will be improved? Is that the hope with these improvements?
I believe that is absolutely, we're in the process, and I believe that can be attained. Not in a perfect world because it wasn't built exactly for juveniles. However, we're making those efforts, and I believe we'll be able to get it where it needs to be.
I would look forward to seeing how those improvements, because I know that there's been a lot of money spent. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing the improvements. And then the last thing is, I have had issues, and have other people have told me that they've had issues where somebody has been released, not necessarily a juvenile, it could be an adult as well, has either been released on their own recognizance or released to home detention. And they have waited for days, not hours, but days to actually, the family or the person waiting for them to be released has waited for more than 3 days to actually have the person released. And that is just something that I don't know if that's under your purview or if that's something else, but that seems to be something that needs to change. And I would like to look into that maybe at a later time with you.
Yes, I could say there's home detention, there's private home detention that the courts can refer individuals to. And then there's home detention that we have within our facility that has expanded. We've added several employees to expand that for the opportunity of home detention versus being incarcerated, awaiting trial or whatnot. But I can absolutely look into that to see what the times are and report back to you, sir.
So yeah, we've been told it may take, if it happens at 9 o'clock in the morning or even at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at trial, and they'll say you may have to wait until the evening, or you may have to wait till the next morning, and then it'll be 4 days later. I'll finally get a call, or I'll get a call from a lawyer who will tell me that they finally were released. And this is both private and the county home detention. I don't want to take any more time. I would like to sit down and talk to you about that.
Absolutely, and I can give you just a short information about that. Many times, first we have to make sure that the individual doesn't have warrants outside of our jurisdiction, which it takes a little bit of paperwork time. But also, many times, an individual will give us a name and an address of someone they state that has given them permission to live there on home detention, and that is denied by that individual. So then we have to go contact the individual going out on home detention and try to find another location of somewhere they can stay on the home detention. So that can take some time, depending on the availability of a residence for the individual.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Delegate Cardin. Delegate Pasteur.
Thank you, Delegate Eversole, Chair. My question goes to the right now for these 12, the 11 male, 1 female. What services, educational services, social, psychological, and emotional services are they getting while they're there? Clearly, what they might need in terms of education is different, and certainly what they need in terms of social, emotional, psychological is different from them. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Correct. They are educated by the Baltimore County school system in our facilities. We're looking at even expanding that and having them make sure that they even get more services in that area. We have a meeting we're scheduling for next week to work with education, but they are being educated. They're getting the required education of individuals in their situation.
And social and emotional as well.
Yes.
What kind of extra services are they getting to support them, no matter what they did? As someone just said, I don't know whether it was Senator Hedelman or someone said, they are still children or juveniles.
Absolutely. We do have mental health services through the county. We have medical services through our contractor Prime Care, and any psychological needs that the individual, the youth need are addressed.
Okay, I guess I'm just really asking, and maybe you can't answer that now, is whether there's something that has been evident once they are put in that facility. Are there people who just as a matter of process come in to talk to them, to work with them? And if you can't answer that right now, I'd appreciate just some follow-up on that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I can say every individual, adult or juvenile charged as adult, is assessed through our assessment and classification process. So we do assessments, the mental health assessments, to make sure that the individual is not suicidal or having mental conditions that would cause them great harm. But I can elaborate, and I can even look into that more if you'd like, ma'am.
I would appreciate that, because the needs of our youth, even on intake, are different in many ways. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Eversole.
Well, thank you so much. Your as ever, your question was different and on point. So was everybody's. I really appreciated everyone's questions here. And I deeply appreciate the director being here to address some of our concerns. I've had a couple people who are in meetings text me, who are delegates and senators, saying, can we talk about the conditions that were cited? That's going to be pretty far to drill down. But the suggestions come from several also, that perhaps once we're done here in early April, sometime in April or May, perhaps some of us could come and have a tour of the facility, and you could show us around, and that would then answer some of those questions about some of the conditions that were reported in the paper, whether or not they were accurate. And we could see for ourselves what it is that some people are concerned about, and whether or not we share those concerns or feel that things are in good order. So, but I won't hold you to pick a date with us, but I will communicate offline with county government and with you, and see if we can arrange for an appropriate number of people to come to the facility and have a look around. I hope you would be willing to do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair, and I'm sure that we can work something out.
Great. And I don't see other questions, and I think our timing is pretty sharp here today. These are great delegations that understand all of their responsibilities, including these. And so I appreciate everyone's questions. I also want to say that I appreciate all of the members of the delegation, both delegations, concerns about this issue, because, well, these are our children, and we do worry about them. As Delegate Pastor put it, they may have done things. They may have done things that are considered quite awful or quite bad, but they're still children and they're still people. And so we're pleased to be concerned about them and make sure that we're taking good care of them. So I appreciate you being here. I want to again say thank you to county government for responding so quickly to make it possible for us to begin to interact with you. And with that, I don't believe we have any other business. I thank you all for coming. Crossovers in a few days. Get ready to push your buttons, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.